Hey guys, Pringles, FLW Pro, Greg Bohannon here. Hey, I wanted to come to you and give you a recap of our second event. I know I'm a couple weeks behind here. I lost my dad last week. It's been a really tough couple weeks. I've been taking care of my mom, but I do want to say thank you to the fishing community that's reached out to me. It's been an incredible amount of fishermen reach out, and just it's really heartfelt for me. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate it before we talk about the less important stuff. But we did go to Harris Chain for our second event. I finished 21st in the first event down at Rayburn, so we got off to a decent start. Went to Harris Chain. It didn't have a great event, but it didn't have a bad event either. I got paid during the event, finished in the 60s. So I kind of wanted to recap kind of how I caught the fish. Harris Chain is a really unique fishery. There's 5 or 6 lakes. I don't remember how many lakes. There's so many lakes you can run into. There's canals. So there's a lot of options. Big Harris, Little Harris, Griffin is where I decided to go. It had the most hydrilla in it, and during practice, that's where I got the most bites, and so that's where I decided to spend my tournament. So first day of the tournament, it was really nice and warm, and again, just like at Rayburn, I caught them on a Strike King Thunder Cricket. I caught the majority of them on the cricket. I was blocking into Lake Griffin. I was fishing a grass flat with a lot of different guys. There's probably 40 or 50 boats on that flat, but there was a lot of hydrilla, a lot of fish. I was taking the Thunder Cricket, I reeled it down. I was in 4 to 6 feet of water, reeling it down, getting it hung in the clumps of hydrilla and jerking it free. Actually caught a couple really nice fish to start the morning, kind of got the day going. And so the Thunder Cricket was a big player that day. Probably caught more numbers that day. I didn't catch as many big fish, but I caught more numbers, on the Strike King Cutter Worm. This is a fairly new bait on the Cutter Worm. It's got a lot of tail action on the Cutter Worm. You rig it up, this Texas rig, got a Strike King tour grade tungsten weight on it. Doing the same thing, throwing it out there, reeling it through the hydrilla clumps. And sometimes when you hit those clumps, you just drag it through it. And then you would reel it till you feel some more really slow, and then drag it through it. And the bite's really cool. It feels kind of like a swim bait bite when I hit this bait. So that was day one. I think I had 11 pounds, had a couple nice fish, and then just some keepers to go with it. So kind of got off and started in the middle of the pack somewhere. So we get to day 2, major cold front rolls in. Bill McDonald and I got to the ramp real early the next morning. The wind's blowing almost 40 miles an hour, and day 2 gets canceled. And so I think it was a great call by FLW, major wind advisories. And so we went back, worked on some baits, shot a video, and went for a run that day, and then got ready for day two, which was actually day 3 on Saturday. Well, we wake up that morning, and the temperature is it is cold. It's about 39 to 43 degrees, somewhere there. We still got a north wind blowing, but not near as hard. So it's major difference, And so made the run to Griffin again. Knew I needed a couple good fish to jump up into that top 30 cut. Started off with a Thunder Cricket, and really could not get the fish to react to it. Same way on the Cutter Worm. But then I went to a KVD jerkbait. I started thinking about that cold front conditions. Florida fish are kind of like Florida people. They don't like the cold, and so I had to go to a jerkbait and make those fish react to jerking that bait over the top of them. You kind of throw it in a bone color. So that's a KVD jerkbait, and I caught every bass on this the second day. Could not get them to hit my Thunder Cricket. Couldn't get them to hit the worm after that cold front. So the jerkbait was a big deal. It was a total deal for me in day 2. So ended up catching, had one little spot. I hit some grass, and there was a little clean spot in the grass. Caught all my fish in about 10 minutes, and so that kind of made my tournament. At least I survived the tournament. I caught a 4-pounder, then a 3-pounder, and then 2 or 3 little keepers to go with it. So that's kind of how the tournament went. Finished in the 60s, got a $5,000 check. So it got us, survived. I think we're still in the top 30 in points. We go to Lake Martin next. I've never been to Lake Martin. Looking forward to going there. I understand it's deep, it's clear, it's got a lot of spotted bass in it. And so I'm looking forward to going there. They say it fishes a little bit like the Ozarks, and so hopefully we can have a good event, and stay. My whole key is to be in that top 50 in points and make that championship at the end of the year. So that's kind of the recap. As far as rod and reels, the jerkbait, I like a Custom Pro Topwater Special rod. It's 6'9", it's got a short handle, got a nice soft tip on it. So I really like that rod for the jerkbait. Of course, a Hyper Mag. I use an 8-3-1, a high-speed reel, 12-pound Strike King fluorocarbon line. That is the setup for the jerkbait. As far as the Cutter Worm, I'm throwing 17-pound Strike King tour grade line. 16th ounce tour grade tungsten sinker. We got the June bug cutter worm on, like I say, 17-pound line. A Ledge series, Mark Rose Ledge series, Custom Pro Ledge worming jig rod. So I love this rod. It's a great worm rod. It's great for swimming, swimming. Great for throwing it around docks. Just a really good all-around rod anytime you're throwing a worm. And then the Thunder Cricket, of course, I throw it on a Magnum Bass 1 rod, one of my favorite rods. 7-foot medium heavy, 7.3-to-1 Hyper Mag reel. So that's the setup, same exact setup, same exact bait I was throwing at Rayburn. I know Bill McDonald smashed on the second day of our event there. He got 18 pounds or 19 pounds on a Thunder Cricket. So man, that Thunder Cricket's really been a fish catcher this year. So that's kind of the setup. That's kind of what we were throwing on. So appreciate you guys listening. Look forward to hopefully giving you a good, positive result from Lake Martin. So in the meantime, you guys get out there to Walmart and buy you some Pringles, and we'll see you next time.